how have you seen, each of you, technology influence the customer experience? So what have been some specifics?
Think about how the entire airline industry has changed since 1990, 1986, about how you interact and make a reservation, how you get a price. Priceline, name your own price, the whole idea of auctioning. There are others that deal with the ability to buy anything, anytime. There's an app for that. I can also look at my Vanguard account, I can look at my Bank of America account, I can move money between the two.
Our company is a little bit different with the customer relationship, but we're an industrial distribution company. So we sell a lot of stuff to plant floors so that they keep their businesses running. So one of the challenges for us, as a lot of companies are out there building all these self-service apps, we're trying to satisfy a plant foreman who's been on the plant for 45 years and really doesn't know technology. He doesn't know how to sign on to a laptop. So even if we built it, will they come? So that was the challenge that we had. And we really had to see a lot of the baby boomers retire.
So I'm going to kind of take the academic perspective on this, given the fact that that's, I guess, the industry that I'm representing. And in working with students, how do we engage them and sort of engage deeper learning, right? And the days of sort of sitting in a classroom and listening to sort of the sage on the stage or the lecture that we've all certainly sat through for a good portion of our lives, is really getting outmoded and really not something that the students are really ready to tolerate. And so how do we provide those opportunities in a way that engage the students at a deeper level? And so specific technologies are really anything that would involve simulation. There's plenty of research that shows basically engagement and student retention and learning of information through simulation.
I think today there's almost more challenges and opportunities, right? I mean, this is probably the first time over the last few years when people have probably more technology at home than they do at work, right? They've got iPads, they've got iPods, they've got smartphones, they've got Windows 7, they've got everything at home, and now we're trying to keep up from a desktop perspective, right? And keep, how do we keep those people satisfied who already use the technology without outpacing what we can support from just a model in general, right? I mean, right now we're struggling with how do we introduce iPads into the organization because the CEO likes his iPad. So that from a technology and customer experience, we know we can make those applications and those platforms work, but how do we do that in a measured and controlled way?
How has focusing on the customer benefited each of your organizations? And I'll start with Mike if I could, because it's fascinating for me learning about higher education and that your customers are students, faculty.
Certainly the notion of treating students as a customer can be maybe somewhat foreign in the world of higher ed. And this was actually a charge that I was given maybe about a year and a half ago, is to really help refocus the IT organization. So one of the things that we did last year is we spent really on every week meeting with different students groups and really understanding what their needs are and then what implications does it have in the delivery of IT services. So for example, gaming. There's a number that would think, oh, gaming, students are supposed to be in class, they're supposed to be studying. We shouldn't worry about gaming and opening the firewall to allow them to do sort of online multi-user games. Now recognizing the fact that that's actually how a lot of students learn.
Most of our focus has been towards, from an IT standpoint, it's always to service the external customer first. So that's where we really tried to drive things. But on an internal basis, if you don't keep up with the technology there, then you're also going to be stuck in like a spreadsheet mentality.
I thought of three things, Kevin, as you said that. One is the implementation of dashboards. To be fair, you should know Mike is a customer of ours. If something goes wrong in Mike's organization, there are dashboard red, yellow, green lights that go off all through our organization, and phone calls happen as quickly. There's nothing hidden. It is transparent and it gets attended to. Number two, part of what our business does is staffing. I could learn about a lot of each one of you in this room right now if I started to look at LinkedIn and Google and Facebook and so on. And the statistic I happen to pull up is that more HR managers look at Facebook than look at LinkedIn when they're considering hiring you to see what's out there. Another one that's interesting is targeted marketing. There was a company that I work with proudly. I get an email about every other day, and you can tell it's part of the way they incent their employees. It's a thought leadership piece sent through LinkedIn networks saying, here's something to think about. Have you thought about it, and would you like to have the dialogue, have the blog?
Yeah, I think over the last few years what we've seen is better information sharing. So collaboration through, whether it be remote access, being able to VPN in, the use of SharePoint, with external access, be able to log in from anywhere and get to that data. The social networks, business social networks that those provide, once people can sort of see their relationship to everybody else in the company.
From an IT professional standpoint, creating a better customer experience, are there any other tips or things that you would share, knowing that that's certainly what most of us in the room are living each day?
Sure. I think from getting the customer involved from the very get-go can't be emphasized too much. I mean, those of you who are developers out there, those of you who are business analysts or project managers, you know what it's like when at the nth day of the project, when you didn't get that customer feedback when you're sitting down for the first time. They'll tell you that it's a bad customer experience.
What we've actually found, and one of the questions we asked in the survey was the students to self-report about their familiarity and comfort level with technology. And what we actually found was across the 1,000 incoming freshmen, that distribution curve really follows just a normal distribution curve, like any other portion of society. So this notion that students are tech savvy and therefore somehow need less support is actually a misnomer, at least in our environment.
Yeah, the one thing I can tell people about customers, when you're building an application in IT, is listen to the customer.
A couple of quick ideas. Number one, make sure the customer perceives that whatever you're delivering solves a problem for them. Number two, when you realize there's an issue, communicate to them that we're doing this because we listen.
How have you seen that change? And I'll, specifically over your career, focus on the customer experience.
I bought a new house August 31st, closed and moved. So therefore I was in the market for services like rekeying my locks, finding someone to help with lawn service, a painter, and so on. And I can't get over how in the last 3 months the entire world has changed. That you Google something and you don't find just websites that say I rekey locks. You then find blogs about good experiences and bad experiences related to that.
Primarily, as I indicated earlier, is actually seeing students as a customer. And one of the things that we've focused on, even in this last couple of years, is how does IT help the university differentiate itself from the other universities that students are looking at, and the competitive nature, and how competitive it's actually become.
Well, I think there's been I had the pleasure of working at Progressive in the first couple of years of my IT career, and there I was introduced to usability for web design. They put a great amount of effort into customer focus and that usability, and going through iterations and iterations to make sure they get it right. And early on, this is the early days of sort of e-commerce, they were winning the Gomez Awards and things for just the user-friendly web. But it's still happening today. I mean, the last version of the iPhone that came out, clearly they didn't put it in the hands of users because the antenna issue they had. And until more and more companies are doing that, they're including the users in the testing and trying to make it a better product. So I think that's where we're seeing it, is that there's more that focus on sort of usability. How can we keep people engaged in it?
Anybody have a question they'd like to ask?
How are we seeing product approaches changing within the organization? Are we seeing iterative development really making a big difference? Or do we see a reluctance to change our traditional waterfall approach?
Given the economy lately and given the levels and models of support, we're actually seeing more of a buy versus build lately. I've seen a lot of companies that are moving away from software development right now just because it is expensive to maintain and there's too many variables.
At our company, we still do the waterfall technique to some degree, but we are probably doing more agile programming, so it is more of an iterative process. We do talk to the customers a lot more often in today's environment than we did 2, even 3 years ago.
Through October 1st of this year, 2010, Google had acquired something over 200 companies. Yet, for we the users, you didn't experience any dramatic shift. So I view that as agile change. They're incorporating capabilities in ways that didn't change your user experience but gave you more capability.
Today I was watching Microsoft PDC conference, and they talk a lot about cloud computing, and they really encourage companies to go on cloud computing. I'm a developer, so I don't worry much about companies go to cloud computing. But what about if I am IT pro, which I was. I was a sysadmin, net admin, and then I switched to developer now. So any of you think that IT pro can get less demand in the future because of the cloud computing environment?
I don't think the demand's ever going to go away. Yeah, it's how you're going to execute that demand. I think what you're going to see, and sorry to say, some of the development might go away, but you're going to need more people on the business, have a lot more business savvy than technical savvy over the long haul.
But it still needs management there. It still needs people to support it. It still needs people to explain it. So again, technology changes all the time. And this will be a shift. So resources will probably the same or more resources will be needed, just shifted to different areas.
Yes, technology evolves. It evolves every day. You have to stay current, Jim. And Texas lost last night, if you missed that thing. You have to stay current, but things don't happen overnight.
On behalf of myself and the panel, appreciate the opportunity. I think we got a lot to think about, and it was a pleasure to be here. And I think the event will continue on, John, correct? So I'll turn it over to John, and here we go.
Ladies and panelists, let's hear for these guys who sponsored it tonight.